In this episode of Tom's World Scale Model Series, we look at the 1/35th scale Dragon Hummel SDK of Z165. If you enjoy programming on scale modeling, then show your support by subscribing to this channel. Leave us a comment, like, dislike, or share the video with friends. Clicking the notification bell gives you alerts when we post new content, or visit the channel Tom's World for a friendly visit for a complete list of all our videos. The Hummel. In order to keep pace with the German Army's Blitzkrieg, its artillery arm needed to mechanize. Horse-drawn and towed guns had plugged the gap, but a self-propelled vehicle was desperately needed. Enter the Hummel, or Bumblebee. Mounting the fearsome 15cm SFH-18 field gun, this awesome weapon could hurl a 95-pound shell out to over 8 miles. More so a journey rather than a casual build, this kit is sure to satisfy even advanced modelers who crave a challenging, highly detailed, and engaging build. So stick with us for this in-box review of the 1/35th scale Dragon Hummel. Okay, so here it is, Dragon's 1/35th scale SDK of Z165 Hummel. Of course, SDK of Z was simply the ordnance inventory designation that German industry gave to their vehicles. They always have to make it complicated. For us, Hummel will do. But if you do know the number, it's usually attached to a particular vehicle. This one's part of their 1/35th scale 39 to 45 series Smart Kit. And Smart Kit just basically means that the assemblages are simplified. When Dragon first came out with their kits, they had a lot of parts, anywhere between 1,000 to 1,500 parts, and I guess they found that that wasn't for everyone, so they kind of simplified a lot of the steps. Whereas maybe you'd have a muffler that was built of maybe 25 parts, now they build it up with maybe 5 parts, so it's much more simplified. It says here on the box that it contains over 660 parts. Now it seems daunting on its face, but don't forget probably around 280 of those parts are going to be the magic tracks. So it's not as daunting. And it says here that the box contains a model of one tank, and this is not a tank, by the way. This is a self-propelled artillery piece, so that's incorrect. The kit number, let's see here, 6876 with a manufacturer suggested retail price of, hold on to your hats, $74.99 US dollars. So that's coming in around $100 Canadian. I did check a couple of the online retailers before I did the review, and the kit was coming in around $70, $72 in their US. But it is available, so it's not hard to get a hold of. Now, I did manage to purchase this kit off the Dragon USA website on sale for, again, hold on to your hats, $29.99. So $30 I bought this American. I think it was another $15 for the delivery, but I did buy 2 kits, so we're talking maybe 30 plus $7.50, so $37.50 American I paid for this. So if you can get it on sale at that Dragon USA website, and the sales usually come on holidays like Christmas, Easter, that sort of thing. Usually in the summer and spring they have sales. So keep an eye on the website, and you can get these amazing Dragon kits for quite inexpensively. And for $30 with the value-added aluminum barrel, the magic tracks and the PE and everything, that's actually cheaper than Tamiya's new Hummel. So it's a great buy if you can get it at that price. Looks like the cover here is a typical, Russian scene, probably in the winter of 1943. The box art as a looks like a burning Panzer III in the background. That's not good news. Tricolor scheme depicted here with the whitewash wearing down. That's probably the way I'm going to paint it once I build this kit. One thing of note is it does depict some crew members, well, the tops of their heads anyways, but the kit does not have any crew members, which we'll see when we look at the sprues. And again, we can tell it's an early version by the early Sprocket and this long exhaust pipe here. And there's a couple of different other ways we can distinguish it from a late version. We'll look at that in a moment. So so let me just measure the box real quick here for you guys so you can see how big this thing is. It's about 15 inches, let's see here, 38 centimeters long. Let's see here, about just over 9.5 inches by 24 centimeters wide, and tall-wise it's around 3.25 inches by 8 centimeters. So a big box, typical Dragon. And here's just by comparison to the little Kubel that we just reviewed, so you can get an idea of the size of the box. Alright, so if we flip it over, I really love these CAD drawings. Now, I don't know if they're actually CAD drawings or just photographs of a completed unpainted model, but it gives you a good sense of what it looks like once it's complete. A couple other ways we can tell it's an early, it's got this little raised superstructure part here, and that's for the driver's side, and that gives them better visibility, obviously, which is important for driving the thing. And then this kind of slope flat part here for the assistant driver radio op. That's, again, a dead giveaway that's an early. Another giveaway is that the muffler is exposed. In the later version, this is just covered with a flat piece and then two little pipes sticking out the side. But we can tell it's an early because we can indeed see the muffler. So that's another way we can tell. Not too much of a remark. The louvers here, we might cover those. Obviously, on the battlefield, you don't want the enemy stuffing Molotov cocktails or grenades up in there. And they did cover that with what looked like a plate or a light sheet steel. So we might put that on there. There's your travel lock, spare wheel. There's your jack block, your anti-skid plate. And here's the early wheel again. And that's, again, a dead giveaway that this is an early initial. So let's have a look at this other side of the box, and I'm going to have to manually focus there because my autofocus is not the greatest, and I had some problems here in my rehearsal, so let's see if I can nail this, which I probably won't be able to. Okay, there we go, not bad. Okay, so you do get some brass for the equilibrators, and if you wonder what an equilibrator is, the definition for you entomology nuts is it simply provides equalization. Okay, so whatever that means. So basically these are a counterbalance to the gun. Because the gun is so heavy, when it elevates you need this, some balance. So I'm assuming those are hydraulic. And they give you little brass covers for it. And that little sort of tubey thing on the top, that's actually the recoil mechanism. So now one thing I did want to bring your attention to, if I can focus it. Okay, so there you can see the barrel. And it does depict it with rifling. Now, it doesn't actually say it's rifled, it just says gun breech and breech lock well represented in detail, aluminum gun barrel with hollow ends. So they don't actually say it's rifled, but the picture shows it's rifled. Now, I'm not sure whether it's just my my barrel that I got in the kit, but it is not rifled. So that's one thing you want to be aware of. Okay, so let's go back to try to focus this here thing. It's always an adventure. My autofocus just doesn't work very well, so I have to manually focus it for you. Okay, so there it is there. And we're just seeing that, well, that's still not focused. Okay, well, we'll try to hit it. Okay, well, that's as good as it's going to get. We just show that the rails are slide molded, and here is our magic track. Now, I do like magic track personally. I know a lot of people don't like them. We'll look at them a little bit more as we dig into the kit, but there we can see the extension on the winter kittens. So, okay, so what else we got here? So just one other side. These other sides are just repeats, nothing of remark there. But here's some color depictions of the paint scheme, and this is unfortunately all you're going to get for color because the instructions are spot color. But there we can see the tricolor scheme with the washed out winter sort of whitewash over top of it, and that's probably the one we're going to end up doing. And this one's kind of cool too. It looks like they've oversprayed it with the white, and they've kind of wiped it to give it these, I don't know, sort of leopard spots, if you will. It's kind of cool. Not my favorite, but it's pretty cool. So all right, so that'll cover the box. So before we dig into it, why don't we take a few minutes and have a look at the Dragon Hummel line as well as the lineage and family tree. So Dragon's Hummel line has basically 8 incarnations. The line branches off into 2 versions of the Hummel, the initial early and the late production. Then they bring the 2 together in the most recent kit 6935, which is a 2-in-1. But let's kind of trace the evolution. So the initial release was 1993, came out as the SDKFZ-165 Hummel Kit 6004. That was Dragon's initial release. Came with a 2-part barrel, indie track links on sprues, and it kind of has this odd 2-part bathtub hull. It works, but it's just odd that they break it up into 2 pieces. There's no clear parts or PE parts in this kit. Most of the sprues are discarded in later versions, but a few are kept. That's the last time we see most of that tooling. Then we go on to 2003. It's the initial version of the Hummel. It's kit 6150. That particular version came out with a glossy full-color instruction and color scheme reference. Very nice. Still has indie track links on sprues, but the Panzer IV hull is replaced with a single piece. Still has a 2-piece barrel, unfortunately, but it does come with 4 artillery figures and their photo etch. So that's kind of nice. Later on in 2003, a Hummel early version 6204 that comes with a small PE fret still has Indy track links on sprues and the two-piece barrel. Shares sprues with 6150 that preceded it, and has 3 small additional sprues which basically differentiates from that initial version, and also has single crew figure with 2 horses and riders, so that's rather nice. So then it takes us to 2008 to the late production version, Kit 6321. Now this is a truly modern kit. A lot of the old sprues are left behind here. So this is a new tooling, comes with an aluminum barrel, 3 PE frets, brass gun parts, metal wire, clear parts, and magic tracks make their first appearance finally. The clamps in this version are molded onto the tools, and styrene shells are included. Comes with the MG34 and German rifle and clip sprues, and that MG34 has a very nice box of ammunition and clips. Very, very nice in that kit. So 5 years later, in 2013, they reissued 6321, the main difference being the so-called razor edge scale thickness on the fighting compartment armor. So basically that just means that it tapers so it looks a little bit more scale. There's a few newly tooled parts from what I can see here, and again magic tracks are included. And Dragon's website says the kit also has additional PE parts, an aluminum barrel, and styrene ammunition, and slide molded parts. So then they followed up in 2014 with the Hummel Westby Le Paushop F Hummel Fahrgestellstelle Kit 6535. Now my German's a little weak obviously, so forgive me. And this depicts the vehicle that has the 10.5 centimeter self-propelled gun rather than the 15 centimeter normally found on the Hummel. This particular kit departs from magic tracks and does have DS tracks. Comes with a small PE fret, styrene shells, plastic tubing, clear parts, and a tiny decal sheet. Unfortunately, there's no aluminum barrel, but the styrene one included in the kit is slide molded. And Dragon stopped including figures from here on in, unfortunately. Then to our kit, 2017 release, initial with Winterketten Smart Kit 6876. I'm not sure how that Smart Kit exactly applies. Maybe some of the parts are simplified. No figures in this one, no crew or their weapons, and no spare shells, unfortunately. But it does come with the magic track with the Winterketten extensions. It does have an aluminum barrel, brass for the elevation cylinders, and clear parts, and shares some parts with earlier releases, but we'll look at that more in a moment. And finally, we come down to 2019. This is a 2-in-1 Smart Kit 6935, and that basically combines a couple of different kits, 6204 and 6321, and that gives you a choice of either building an initial/early or a late model. And the only difference being kind of the hull has one has the driver's hatch, single driver's hatch in the initial early, and then later on they added another driver's hatch. I'm not sure whether that's an assistant driver or a bow gunner, but there's 2 hatches, so that differentiates. But that 6935 lets you build either or. Does come with DS tracks, some magic tracks for spare links, does have some styrene shells, 3 PE frets, aluminum barrel, plastic hose, and razor edge on the armor, so they kind of bring the line together. And that'll do it for the Dragon Hummel product line. So let's get opening the box here. I've already removed the sprues from the plastic bags because I was paranoid about cutting my finger open here, cutting the bags open on camera. I'm sure my subscribership would go up, but I'm going to skip that part of it. What you're greeted with is a veritable cornucopia of plastic. Now, you're not going to find it exactly like this because I've been in here to inspect the parts, but this is it. And I'm just going to cut to a slightly different angle here so we can get in close. And let's start with these instructions. So for the instructions, it's pretty much straightforward Dragon fare, you know, light bond paper with spot color, black, white, and a little bit of blue. You don't usually get a little write-up like other manufacturers, but you do get a sprue map, unlike some manufacturers. I always found the sprue maps to be somewhat handy. Now the blue shows parts we don't use, and as usual, there's a lot of parts we don't use. Looks like we do have the decking for the later version here, which is kind of interesting. But anyway, there it is there. Now, I know that these spare parts, these blue sort of parts in Dragon kits are controversial. Some people say, well, I'm getting free parts. Guys, if they're putting plastic in the box, trust me, you're paying for it. So these aren't free parts. If you buy it on sale, they're free. But I mean, if you're paying full bore retail, you're paying for this plastic. And sometimes you have parts you can reuse. Wheels and that are handy. But other times you get parts that you just can't use. So... Alright, we'll look at the parts more now. It's always a challenge doing Dragon kits because there's so many parts, so I have to fly through it, but I'll try to hit the salient points. When you build Dragon kits, you get to know the symbiology. They usually give you a color chart there showing you Mr. Color and Hobby Color and Model Master Color translations. Not very many paints. You can use whatever you like. As most sort of Panzer-based, tanks and artillery pieces here, there's lots of wheels. I'm not going to count them all, but I think there's around 42 wheels. A little bit of detailing going there, some bump stops. The hull's got some parts molded on, but you do have to attach a few. Here's looks like the liners for the hatches on the decking. You have to pay attention to the details here because they are calling out some holes being drilled here. You want to get those early. You don't want to attach those fenders then have to drill those out later, so pay attention to that. Also, there is a few areas where you have to remove, I guess, little bits and raised parts and that, so you have to pay attention to that as well. I'm not crazy about having to remove parts, but I understand, when they're doing different versioning and using the same parts and molds, that sometimes you do have to do that to get sort of variance of the vehicle. And we can see here where we've got the line drawings here, but we do have some photographs. It's kind of a mix. It's kind of odd that way. Some people really don't like the photograph instructions. I don't mind them as long as they're clear, but it's a mix in these instructions, which is kind of odd. It's a bit of a mishmash. And the fenders going on, pretty straightforward. And what's also nice is that these instructions aren't particularly cluttered. Usually Dragon just puts on a million assemblies on one page, but this isn't bad, so this is going to be a refreshing change for these old eyes. And your muffler is 5 pieces, very simple. We can build it separate so we can weather it up nicely, or removing a part there. And down here some various and sundries, putting on mostly our exhaust, a couple little parts we have to shave off here. A couple little boxes we're building up here, and looks like the towing mount there. And here's the magnificent gun. It's almost a model kit unto itself. I'm not going to count all the parts, but there's got to be 100 parts here to make up this gun. But it builds up to be just beautiful. I built up a Martyr, I think it was a Martyr 2 or Martyr 3 from the Dragon line, and the gun was just superb, so this is going to be great. We have an option here to actually not glue the breech block. I guess I don't know about having it movable. It's not too exciting. On the Tamiya 155, they kind of have that hinged breech block, which is kind of cool. This one just is a sliding block, but we can pose it open or closed. And these are these little brass equilibrators. And I'm assuming when you elevate the gun, these pistons will extend, and that little brass shroud will sort of make it look like a piston. That's a very nice little touch there. I just want to draw your attention to this part, one of the P parts, MA1. It's kind of an odd little part, but it gets attached to the gun here, and it looks like it's a chart. And we'll look at that in a moment, but that's actually a PE piece. But there we're building up the gun, and it's going to be a little bit of work, a lot of tiny fiddly parts, a lot of cleanup, but it looks absolutely fantastic when it's done, so I'm looking forward to that. Okay, here we got the fighting compartment superstructure, just some little fiddly bits going on, probably tie-down hooks for the canvas cover. And we got the sides going on. Oh, and there we have our ranging poles. Those are kind of cool. Those are those red and white poles that assist in estimating distances, kind of like survey poles. So those are kind of cool. Sides going on there, very straightforward. Again, very uncluttered, which is a welcome change from most Dragon kits. Oh, here we got some of the ammo boxes, and we have a choice. We can show them open or closed. I'm assuming that is probably the powder charges there, because the ammo, the actual shell and everything else is quite long. So it's a window. I don't know what what that piece there back of the ammo box. Okay, so step 17 again, uncluttered, just a very few assemblies here per step, which is nice. Here we can pose this open or closed again. Here we get into quite a few little small parts, most little hooks and all the rest of it. There's the mount for the antenna, more holes to drill, so really pay attention to that. You don't want to attach that, then have to drill those holes. You might not be able to pose the driver's hatch open or closed, which is kind of interesting. We'll have to look at that during the construction, but a lot of little fiddly parts there. Here's the driver's visor. We can pose open or closed, which is kind of nice. Down here we have the jack, which refreshingly only looks to be like, what would we talking about, 5 parts there? Very nice. Some of the early kits, that was many more parts, but that's been simplified, it looks like, for our smart kit. So more holes to drill, pay attention there. Very uncluttered instructions, very welcome change. Oh, we're getting closer where it's starting to look like an artillery piece. Just more sundries going down here into the fighting compartment. Some final touches on the gun. Here I'm mating the gun. It does look like if you build it properly, the gun does traverse and elevate, which is rather nice. It's telling you not to glue the gun lock, so I'm assuming we can pose that in the locked or open position, which is nice. The sides going on with the spare wheel. Little fiddly handle going on the side there for the gun shield. pretty straightforward. Here's our assembly of our magic track. We're going to look at that in a moment. There's a little bit of an issue, but one thing I should discuss right now is the magic tracks that we'll see, they actually have solid guide horns. And interestingly enough, in the instructions, if we look close, there, they depict hollow guide horns. And it's not a deal breaker either way because I've seen pictures of both. So I'm quite comfortable with the solid horns on these. And as we can see, we're only using 98 per side, and I think we get 144, so we get a lot of spares, over 90 spares. So we can put lots of spare track links on the side of our vehicle. And finally, just a couple of paint marking schemes. It's a little disappointing that they don't give you a color guide, which would be nice, but we have the cover we can refer to, but you're going to have to find reference photos because you don't get all the sides and the top and everything. So if you really want to get accurate with that color scheme. So this is our world famous Dragon Unidentified Unit 1944, probably in Russia, I would think, in the winter of 43 possibly, or other places. It's hard to say. Unidentified. And that's that tricolor just with that sort of washed out white camouflage. Very, very few decals in this particular kit. And then finally we've got here our, let's see here, Panzer Artillery Regiment 19th Panzer Division Eastern Front 1944. I kind of like the gun markings. I wish that one had the gun markings, but, and that's that kind of that odd, that white with the wipes that kind of looks almost like leopard spots or something, but it's kind of cool. So I think if we're going to build, we're going to do this one. So that'll cover the instructions, and well, it's time to dig into this mountain of sprues. So I'm going to adjust my camera angle slightly, and let's have a look at some of these sprues. Okay, so let's get through some of the smaller parts. We start off with a couple of bags of our magic track. They are color-coded because there's a left and right-handed sides to them. The first issue, I'm going to have to manually focus here, so just stick with me. We can see a couple knockout marks on the magic track, so that's going to require a little bit of cleanup, 91 parts times 2. So a little bit of cleanup there. It's not a terrible spot. We can see that the guide horns are solid, and a little bit of cleanup on that guide horn as well. I can live with solid or hollow guide horns, so no problems there. But the detail's great. They fit together nice, and no time at all. You can put in your nice track sag and they work out great. And there's a little winter extension. So very nice little bob on the end there, which is very nice. So you get 2 of those. Next one here you get, that's your brass equilibrator covers. Nothing to write home about, but it's a nice little addition. We get a little decal sheet here, a little wee decal sheet with 3 Balkenkreuzes, some unit markings, and I guess a vehicle identifier and your gun markings. We've got a little PE set, so I wondered what that part on the left was, and it gets attached to the gun, and it looks like maybe it's a chart, maybe like a blackboard chart, and maybe once the gunner gets his coordinates, they write it in there. That'd be my guess. In the middle there are little placards that go at the side of the gun rail, and those are just sundry gun parts. A little PE set, and here's your barrel. Nice turned aluminum barrel, very light, very nice. A little bit of texturing on it, but a nice self-leveling coat of paint will do nice. But the inside, as we talked about, no rifling, so a little disappointing there. Okay, so now the hull. It is a bathtub style hull. Let me just get focus here so we can see this thing. My autofocus does not work very well, so I have to manually focus it. The sliders on the software are tiny, so... but I'll try to get it here for you. Okay, so there's the hull. No problems there. Now, it is not a Panzer IV hull. It is based on a Panzer IV hull, and the actual vehicle did borrow components from the Panzer III, but the hull is different. Get that little piece up there that's different from the Panzer IV hull. Panzer IV just goes straight across there. And, you know, it's thick, so you're not going to get any warping, and the engineering on Dragon kits is great, so I don't ever remember needing filler on any Dragon kits, and I've built a few of them. And your details are already on there. Now, if we look close, it does have that sort of rolled steel texture on the side, which is very nice because when the The styrene is really smooth. It just doesn't look realistic. And we can see the scalloping. Now, I'm not sure whether that scalloping should be both on the vertical and horizontal surface. I could not find any close-up pictures of a Panzer IV or a Hummel or a Nashorn for that matter. But I suspect that scallop should also be on the horizontal surface. And there's no weld beads. I've got some great close-up shots of a Tiger, and you can see the weld beads. And oftentimes, too, there's bolts there as well, so rivets. So. But otherwise, very nice. Single piece, fits together nice, I'm sure. And it's of a good gauge, like I said, so you're not going to get any warping or bending or anything like that. So I'm just trying to hit that focus here, which I'll never get, of course, when I'm recording. But okay, so that's not bad. Okay, so if you've ever built any Dragon Panzer IV sprues, this one's going to look very familiar. And if we go in close here, we can see that it's labeled as such. Where are we here? Focus. There we go. And it's a Panzer IV. So if you ever built any Dragon Panzer IVs, you're going to recognize this sprue. And for anybody not familiar with Dragon, if you look close, you can see the raised lettering on the rubber part, which is very nice. And you can also see the weld beads there on the wheels. So you get great detail with Dragon. And there are the leaf springs. They're very nice too. But of course, you're going to get a bit of a seam. Now, these, as I said, this sprue's been around a while, and I suspect, I could probably use a cleanup pretty soon, but not bad otherwise. And so you get two of those. And let me just focus out here. Okay, that's probably going to be close enough. I could type it in on my keyboard, the actual value, but it's a bit of a pain. Okay, there it is. So that's, and this sprue is actually warped. Not a big deal, but so you get two of those right there. All right, so the next one looks to be our gun shield. I'm going to just try to hit that focus a little bit better here. Just give me a second. There we go. So you get your gun shield. This looks like it's the mount for the spare wheel. This is not used. I don't know what that is. Looks like maybe a towing assembly of some sort. Well, that might be the travel lock, it looks like. Okay, we're not going to play guess the part, but we'll just have a quick look at the quality of the parts and the volume of the parts. There's our exhaust pipes, little something that goes on the deck there. I'm assuming a little shield part to stop the shield from jamming. So there it is there. That's the muffler. Very nice. All the parts are crisply molded. I don't see any flash. Okay, this sprue, that's obviously your gun parts. Now, oddly enough, you see how Dragon does their knockouts? They do it by these sort of thingies that hang on the edges. And by the way, very nice bolt detail. Look at that. But I'd rather clean up these things, these little fiddly things on the end here than, have a nasty knockout right in the middle of the part. So Dragon does that a little bit differently. There's the breech block. The detail's good. More nice bolt detail. Boy, that's beautiful. That's going to take a wash. It's going to look fantastic. Some of the little wheels. Look at the little teeth on that thing. And, the seams are not bad. Even on that very complicated part. So, equilibrators. I love using that word. There's the gun rails. And that other little P part goes down on the edge of this thing. I think there. But look at the bolt detail. Very nice. Okay, so that's that sprue. I'll just focus in on that for you. There we go. So there's that one. And we get a couple of these, and these are just the final drives. Again, very nice detail. Now, these are the newer sprockets, so we're not going to be using these, obviously. But the final drive, the detail is nice. I dread having to change this focus, but I want to make sure you guys see the parts nicely. So that's the final drive there. And the wheels are nice. Again, look at the little nut detail on that. Looks great. It's the return rollers. And again, the raised letters. You can just barely see them, but they look great. It's a couple of those. And we have this one. It's a rather big one. It's a big one. So I'm just going to try and focus that for you. There we go. Alright, and that's the ammo bins. I'm not crazy about this, because obviously you're going to have to mask that and use some metallic paint. Not crazy about that. Might be able to get some aftermarket for that, but I do think that's the charges, because that box is too shallow for the ammunition. Yeah, it's a window. No, that's just the back of the ammo box. There's ranging poles. Some of the nice detail on those boxes. That ribbing is nice. Molding on that piece is very nice. I do want to get in here with my focus. And it does have that rolled steel texture, so it's not ultra smooth. So that's very nice, but the bolt detail's great. I'm assuming that's where the gun attaches, so. The gun shield, nothing too exciting. Tiny little parts there that are going to require a little bit of cleanup, a little bit of fiddling, but very crisply molded. Let me get in close. There we are. Oh, and look at the wing nut on there. That's fantastic. I'm just kind of waving in front of the camera here for you, but look at the wing nut detail there. Very nice. Could I get it a bit more sharp here for you guys? There we are. Very nice. Looks like the tie down for the jack probably. So, okay, so another sprue. I think there's around 12 to 15 sprues in the box. I haven't counted them all, but lots. Okay, so here we have our shields to the fighting compartment. There we have the upper deck for the early version, which has that driver's hatch raised parts. And again, we can pose the windows open and closed. There we go, various and sundries. There we have our jack. Another ammo box of some sort. Very nice. Details great. We do have a scalloping on the back wall there. Let me see if I can't focus in on that. But again, no weld beads. So if you really want to get detailed, you should go in there and create some weld beads. A bit of a challenge because the surfaces are curved, but and again, that roll texture is rather nice. So okay, so let's focus that on that. I'm going to address this autofocus part soon because it's taken up too much time. I can never hit it just right too, so I do apologize, guys. Okay, so there's that one. Okay, so this little one here, I think we get two of those, and that's our early sprocket there. That's the one we'll be using. So there's a final drive, and those are these little handles. I'm assuming they're tie downs for the fighting compartment, just for the canvas, and they're going to require a little bit of care because those big knockout pin thingies there. But you can see the weld detail. It's rather nice. Yeah, once those glue down, they're going to look great. That's a nice little touch, those weld details. And you can see this, the details on the sprockets is nice. So there's a final drive, nice bolt detail. That'll take a wash. So, all right, is a tiny little sprue. You get a couple of these too. Those look like the covers just for the running arms, the suspension, and little bump stops there. No problems. Not a lot of flash. Not a lot of cleanup. Okay, there's that. Here's the gun shield. Nothing ultra remarkable. Yeah, some small gun parts. A little bit of cleanup on those, but they're going to look great. Nice bolt detail there again. Boy, it's endless with these Dragon kits. It's like a kit in a candy store. Some various and sundries. Really nice detail on the hinges there. And you can see the little latches look great too. So, and again, that roll texture is excellent. So, yeah, Dragon always does a good job on their molding. Never any complaints. You know, if you get the older kits, then they're pretty rough. But these new generation kits are superb. So, pretty. Look at the size of that part. Very small. Okay, what else we got? All right, we have this one here. It's got your not drive sprocket, your idler wheel there. It's going to take a little bit of care because there's a lot of those knockout things, but should be okay. I don't know what that piece is. It's not used, so I guess that's my excuse. There's the fender detail. And more various and sundry ammo boxes with the, and look at the hinge detail on these things. Where are they? Oh, there we go. Okay, they look like little buckles. Excellent. Beautiful detail on that. Hit those with some metallic paint and nice deep red sort of for those leather straps, and that's going to look fantastic. So, okay, so you get that one there. Focus, please. I need a focus puller. Please don't inundate me with resumes, but I could use a focus puller. Okay, there's that one. We already saw that. That's a repeat. That's our early drive sprocket. I've got sprues all over my desk here, guys. Okay, and this is the last one. And it does look like we've got the upper decking for the late version. Now, I know somebody you're thinking, hey, can I build a late version out of this box? You cannot. There aren't enough parts. But it's got some of the parts. Okay, I'm still fiddling with the focus here. Well, that's as close as it's going to get. But so that is a late hull, right? And it's different because that race section is right across. So that's one way you can tell the late version. It's too bad we can't use that. That is a nice piece, and that's a nice piece too. I don't know if that's used, but that looks great. And so the fenders, let's just have a look at this anti-slip texture. It does look great. So that's pretty much a rite of passage for any kit. To me, it does that too. So that'll take a nice wash. But that's sort of that diamond pattern anti-skid. And the detail on the fender is very nice. Get those hinges and I'm just curious to see the backs. Well, no, the backs aren't finished. So, but interesting enough, they put that that pattern on the underside of there. A little bit more scalloping, so they give you some rudimentary details on the bottom. So, and there's those ammo racks. Again, I'm not crazy about those. It's going to take some masking and some metallic paint. I might just pose those close. I have no idea what this thing is. Almost looks like an oxygen or acetylene tank or something. And you get your antenna, which is nice. Okay, and that'll do it for that sprue there. The good points about the kit: superb detail, all the value-added parts, the barrel, the PE, the aluminum. Dragon sale price. If you can buy this kit for $30, $35, $40, maybe at a hobby show or a sale or something like that, then you're really doing well. Probably at that price point, $30, $35, $36, you really can't beat this kit. It's the best Hummel kit. And you get quite a few spare parts. And finally, it's a complete kit. Doesn't require any aftermarket. Looks great just out of the box. Drawbacks, of course, are, well, the high everyday price. I mean, 75 Americans, pretty steep. For what you get, maybe not, it's reasonable, but, you know, it's out of the range for most modelers who just want a casual build. There are no figures, no spare shells, and there's the absence of the beautiful crew weapons that come in earlier iterations of the Dragon Hummel. So that's a bit of a drawback. The photo style instructions, for some people, they don't like that as well. And this is not a kit for beginners. I would say a beginner would probably get a little bit bogged down in this. So it's definitely recommended only for mid-level or advanced modelers.